Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Business Talks. I am your host, Chawanne Burns. In today's episode, we are going to discuss Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines is going bankruptcy. We're going to see what that entails and what that looks like if you fly Spirit Airlines. I don't care too much for Spirit, but you out there might want a budget flight, and they do always have cheap flights going out. So we'll discuss that. Then we're going to talk about Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom just moved to a $9 million house. I don't know how he's affording this $9 million house, and he has a $230,000 salary. And then we're going to talk about the homeless crisis. I don't know if Gavin Newsom is trying to pave his way to the White House for 2028, but it looks like that's what he's trying to do. So he went out on Skid Row, acting like he was cleaning up the homeless, but he was met with some protesters. Okay, so we'll talk about that. And then we're going to talk about Chicago mayor. Last Thursday when we discussed Chicago mayor, he was trying to increase the taxes, real estate taxes on the residents to cover their $1 billion deficit. But that failed. Okay, the city council overturned or did not approve that decision. And he was met with a lot of vitriol from the residents, very upset, and they really do not like Mayor Brandon Johnson. Also, there's another slain officer in Chicago. His funeral was over this weekend. We'll discuss all that and more. We got some news about Donald Trump and all that good stuff. So you guys stay tuned for another episode of Business Talks. And my video clip is not here. My intro clip is gone. Somebody stole it. Somebody took my intro clip out. I was fooling around today, so I guess we can't do my intro. And my intro, I swear I was about to cue it up. But anyway, this is a live feed, you guys. You guys put in the chat, let me know where you're viewing from. Please put in the chat, let me know where you're viewing from. I see we have Noble Young in the building. What is good with you? Celeste Hodges from Texas. What is good? Lexi, good afternoon to you. Deborah B. Deborah B is in the house. What is good? Christopher Lewis saying Biden launching the missiles, but everybody keep talking about Trump's speaking points, shaking my effing head. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. I got a little story about that as well. And he's talking about Ukraine. He gave. Anyway, we'll talk more about that. Tyrone Price, Chawanne Burns, thank you for another great show. And Larry Huddleston, hello from Fort Worth. Lexi, Gavin stepping over the addicts and homeless in the street. Yeah, it's really ridiculous. Lexi, guilty. Christopher, Palm Beach, Florida. I see we have Anthony. Good morning. Chawanne from Sacramento, California. Stephen H. Good afternoon to you. Chris Hall. Good afternoon. Chris Hall from New York. Okay, you guys, our first story of the hour is going to be a quick story. This is in regards to Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines is going bankrupt. It filed for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. Okay, and it's saying in this news article that protections following significant financial struggles due to mounting losses and debt maturities. And airline announced on Monday the filing comes after two failed merger in less than 2 years. Once recently with Frontier and another earlier with JetBlue. I didn't know they had two mergers. But anyway, which left the ultra low-cost carrier in the bind after repetitive quarterly losses. In October, Spirit announced plans to sell multiple aircrafts, lay off workers, and try to raise cash to revive operations. Spirit Airlines President CEO Ted Christie said the airline has entered into an agreement with its bondholders that is expected to reduce the company's total debt and private increase financial flexibility. So they're just, trying to pay off their liabilities, but I guess they're not bringing in enough cash to cover their liabilities. Anywho, I don't know if you guys remember this story. If you're not following me on my unpopular opinion channel, it's under Chawanne Burns 2.0. But I covered this story where TMZ, I guess someone flew in from Dallas. They were going from Dallas to Los Angeles, and they saw a rat in the ceiling. Okay? A rat in the ceiling. So, I mean, you get what you pay for, basically. They flying with the rats. Spirit Airlines is flying with the rats. So, I mean, what more do you want when you fly Spirit? So, they're trying to cover their liabilities. I'm assuming that they're still going to, sell flights as long as they're still going to operate until unless otherwise, they completely shut down. But it's unfortunate that this is the budget airlines. You probably can't find no cheaper airlines than Spirit. Maybe JetBlue, but I think Spirit, they travel to a bunch of major cities and you could get straight flights without, having to get a connector. Another thing I want to point out, Spirit Airlines, like when we see a bunch of, I don't know if you guys ever saw, when customers are like complaining and trying to fight the staff, it's usually on Spirit Airlines. It's usually on those low budget airlines where their customer service is crappy. So like I said, maybe customer service is part of the reasons why they don't sell enough flights. And then it's too ultra ghetto. Maybe a lot of people don't want to deal with that kind of stuff when traveling. So that's probably to their demise. Maybe, they're not attracting the customers or the clientele that they want because they're tending to keep their flights so cheap. Anyway. You guys let me know your thoughts on that. Chris Hall is tuning in from New York. I see we have Stephen H., Chicago resident here, hoping to recall Mayor Johnson. He is so bad. Mwata is tuning in from Little Rock, Arkansas. Larry Hudson, I'm playing your Into My Mind. I think I don't know what you're saying right there. But anyway, our next story, I do want to talk about this. U.S. allows Ukraine to use long-range missile strikes into Russia. Okay, so officially, Biden, I guess you're declaring war on Ukraine. It's kind of odd that you would do that and you only have, 59 or 56 days left in your presidency. You want to, it's already effed up, right? But I guess when you turn it over to Trump, you really want to have it really effed up so he could clean up after your mess. And this was just posted in 11 minutes ago. It says Ukraine says Russia suffered highest number of weekly losses last week. Russia suffers the highest number of weekly losses since it's launched its invasion of Ukraine. The Ukrainian Defense Ministry said on Monday, the ministry reported 11,370 Russian loss last week, saying on X, we make the occupiers pay the highest price for their terror, citing that the Ukrainian General Staff and Armed Forces, that the UK Defense Ministry said Monday that Russia suffered the average of 1,400 daily or almost 1,500 daily casualties in the first 12 days of November, and up from October, ranges of 1,300 losses a day. And it's an upward trajectory. What the U.S. is saying, meanwhile, the Pentagon Deputy Press Secretary Sabrina Singh said that the U.S. believes Russia continues to suffer about 1,200 casualties per day. Our assessment is still roughly 1,200 casualties. I don't know why. Okay, who cares? And I'm saying who cares. It's like we're inserting ourselves into this. We've given Ukraine billions of dollars of our money, and we have no business over in Ukraine. And a lot of people don't know Ukraine is not even part of NATO. They've never been a part of NATO. I guess they're trying to be a part of NATO, but they're not. And the U.S. is saying, oh, we want to protect other countries that use the democratic system as far as free and fair elections. But you guys put in the chat, I had to do my research on this. Ukraine, since the war started between Ukraine and Russia, they suspended their elections. So that's why hence Zelensky is still in office, because I believe they were supposed to have an election in 2023, and I believe they suspended that election. I'm not for sure, but I remember Zelensky was talking about, oh, we're going to suspend our elections since we're in this war. So we're over there protecting them or funding their operations. I'm pretty sure we do have some people over there. They're not telling us, but we're over there and funding this operation. And we're saying we're protecting democracy. And it's just a slush fund to pad people's pockets. Okay. And it says Biden will allow Ukraine to use U.S. long-range missiles inside of Russia. Catch up on the latest headlines. It says U.S. President Joe Biden has authorized Ukraine to use powerful long-range American weapons inside of Russia, according to the two U.S. officials familiar with the decisions. This decision comes at a critical moment for Ukraine as the war has raged nearly 1,000 days. This is the entire presidency of Joe Biden. Trump left office. Maybe 300 or 250 days later, Joe Biden was in this war with Ukraine. And we were funding this war. And remember, all these whack jobs had this blue and yellow picture behind them. And, well, we stand with Ukraine. You don't even know what Ukraine represent. You know, we're standing with Ukraine for what? Why are we standing with Ukraine? But we had all these American citizens saying, oh, yeah, we stand with Ukraine. Brainwashed, and we don't even know what they were fighting for. Anyway, basically, Russia or Putin was saying NATO was encroaching on their territory. And as they was encroaching on their territory, they got closer to their boundaries. So they said, okay, no, you're not. You're steady moving towards our boundaries, and you shouldn't be doing that. So, and hence, that's why this war happened. Now, and remember your girl, Kamala Harris, during the debate, she said she was in the room and she negotiated, with Ukraine and Putin. And remember, Donald Trump said, oh, did you ever talk to Putin? No, she didn't. So how you negotiating anything? How are you negotiating peace if you don't talk to the opposition? You can't. You can't just assume they're going to agree to stuff. You can't just dictate they're going to agree to stuff. Negotiation means coming to some type of compromising decision. This is clearly why I talk heavily against Kamala Harris during the campaign season, because she is not a negotiator. She wasn't fit for the job. And she happened to be women. And that's why I don't think women in this perspective should be allowed to be the U.S. president, because a lot of leaders don't respect women, period. Anyway, I get a lot of slack when I say that, but that's my take on things. We're talking about negotiating peace with world leaders. Who do you feel comfortable with? Cackling Kamala Harris, commie Kamala Harris, that said, I was at the negotiating table, and 2 days later, you guys are in this war? Or do you trust Donald Trump? And during his presidency, there were no wars. Even the media was gaslighting, oh, they're going to start a war. He's going to start a war. And we actually believe this crap. But now nobody believes social media. Nobody believes mainstream media. Anyway, so the weapons purpose, Biden's decision comes as Moscow has deployed nearly 50,000 troops to Kursk. I think that's how you pronounce that, the southern Russian region where Kiev launched its surprise counteroffensive in the summer to prepare to take back the territory. And the weapon are intended to be used primarily in Kursk for now. A U.S. official said Russia is trying to take Kursk off the table as the potential bargaining chip for Ukrainians in any future peace talks. So basically what I'm hearing, they are trying to make it harder for Trump to negotiate peace talks. This is what I get from this article. And they're saying the weapon, the missile, is an Army tactical missile, is better known as ATACMS or ATACMS, are a supersonic ballistic missiles that can strike further into Russia than any other Ukrainian missile. It is not clear how many weapons Kiev has at its disposal. The Institute for the Study of War estimates that around 250 Russian military objectives are in the range of Ukrainian acts. Okay. Let me enlarge this. I didn't know it was that small. I don't know if you guys could see this, but you guys let me know your thoughts. I think from a perspective of changing leadership, to me, if I was Biden, I wouldn't act. It seemed like he's acting hasty, and I don't know who he has in his ear. And maybe they're just trying to make a mess of the administration before Donald Trump comes in office. But that's what it looks like. It looks like they're trying to make a mess of it and trying to make it harder for Donald Trump. But you know what? Donald Trump is one of those high what do you call it? High achievers. And matter of fact, I think he's going to eat this up because, oh, look what I could do. Not only I can negotiate peace in the Middle East and other parts, but of course, when I came into office, this conflict escalated before I got here. And look what I did now. I negotiated peace between Ukraine and Russia, where they thought there were no more bargaining chips. Okay. Like I said, put in the chat. Let me know what you think about that. Let me just get to some of your comments. Lexi is saying Biden gonna send Ukraine as much money as possible before Trump takes over. Thank you, Lexi. This is what they're trying to do. He's going to try to send Ukraine more money. You see, he put out there he's forgiven 8 more million people on their loans. I have student loans. They ain't forgive me with crap, even though I just assume I'm going to pay for them anyway. That's because I took out the loan. But like I said, now they're saying, oh, that he's forgiven more, 8 more million people are being forgiven on the student loan forgiveness program. He's trying to send out more money. I don't know what else they're trying to do, just to, make a muck out of the changeover. And they're saying it's going to be a peaceful changeover or transfer of power. I'm not foreseeing that either, because I hear that they're having meetings in the Pentagon, secret meetings on how they could overthrow, probably Trump's power. And I don't know if you guys follow me on X. They are still counting. They are still counting in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Arizona. Let me see. I think it was Wisconsin. They're still counting ballots. And in Illinois, they found 2,300 or 20,000 more ballots for Harris. Well, that election was already called. We know Harris won Illinois, but why are you saying we found 20,000 more ballots? And you should be done counting as far as the presidency go, those ballots. But you guys answer me this. I don't know, how are you counting ballots? Don't you get one ballot? Everybody, all your selection or all your options is on one ballot, and this front and back. How come you could count the presidency, but you can't count the House or the Senate in a separate thing? You can't count them at one time. To me, it doesn't make any sense. Are you hand counting these ballots? And if you hand counting, you think you will use a computer system, because the computer system you just feed and then you spot check to make sure that the count is right. Hey, I fed through batch number 28. They said it counted or calculated this many people for this race, this many people for that race. Oh yeah, this machine is calculating properly. Or no, this machine, we got to hand count this bunch or every ballot that came through this machine, we got to hand count it because I spot checked it. I did a quality control or QC on it, and it's miscalculating. Don't you think that's how it should go? No, they're hand counting all these ballots. And I had several posts that went viral over the weekend. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she posted, Arizona is still counting, Georgia is still counting, California is still counting, Pennsylvania is still counting, North Carolina is still counting. And she put, can you see what they're doing? Yeah, we could see what they're doing. But then I said, no, correction. They're still cheating. If you're still counting ballots at this point in time, you're cheating. The election was November the 5th. It is November the 18th. Why are you still counting ballots? This doesn't make any sense. You are cheating at this point. And like I said, I saw a post where they're saying, oh, they found 23 more thousand votes for Kamala Harris in Illinois. Well, number one, who gives a damn? But we know the people did not show up for Kamala Harris more than they did Hillary Clinton. I don't believe it. I just do not believe that notion that more people showed up more than Hillary Clinton, than Kamala Harris, more than all these other. I think she even Barack Obama. They showing up more for Kamala Harris than Barack Obama. Barack Obama, I think he received 60 million votes or 56 million votes. Kamala Harris is at 66 million. The lady got in the game of 100 days or 110 days in before the election. Do you guys really believe? And it was a whole debacle. She's saying she's going to take care of the economy and take care of the budget. And she overspends. She literally spent $1 billion, $1.2 billion. And she did not win. And it only proves two things: that Democrats don't know how to balance any budget. That's what it proves. And women overspend. The whole stereotype of women overspending, she fits that whole dynamic. She saw $1 billion and they said, oh, let's just spend all the $1 billion. Whereas her opponent, Donald Trump, he had 376 million that he raised and he only spent 360. Guess how much she spent on overhead? She spent $60 million on overhead for some nut jobs to tell her how to run her campaign and lost. Whereas Donald Trump had some experienced people, apparently they knew what they were doing, and he only spent $10 million on overhead. So I would like to see if they do a financial audit on her campaign funding or her campaign finances, because I think we're going to find that it was some stuff in the game. Like, where'd you get all this money, or where did you spend all this money? And it doesn't make any sense. Okay. So, Gary Williams saying, yes, they did suspend the elections. Yeah. And we're protecting the democracy. That is not democratic at all. That's not a constitution republic or whatever you want to call it. It's not a democracy when you're suspending an election. And Zelensky's still coming to the U.S. begging for money. It looks really ridiculous. Ukraine was killing Russians and Christians in Donbass. I didn't know that, but that's a good story. I need to follow up on that. But I wouldn't put it past that. After the World War II, some of the Nazis fled to Ukraine. And remember, this is a really crazy thing. The Ukrainian guy, I think he was in Canada. He was from Ukraine, and they wanted to honor him, and they propped him up like he was a not fallen soldier, but a veteran. And coming to find out, they did a background on this. This was an older gentleman. He was like in his 90s. He was a Nazi. And they did this whole thing, gave him some type of honor, put him on the stage, and come to find out this guy was a Nazi because you want to celebrate Ukrainians. You guys, you don't see a problem with that? And this is what we're championing. If as United States, we're champion Nazis. It's like we're giving honor to honorary Nazi military men that served in Nazi Germany. It's insane. But a lot of people don't do their research, so they don't know the background of that. They just look or listen to mainstream media saying, oh, we got to protect Ukraine. For what? Why do we have to protect them? Anyway, Yuk-Fotu, NATO was created to defeat the Soviet Union, which collapsed in 1991. That treaty said NATO wouldn't go east, and now they are in Ukraine, basically. Exactly. And this is why Putin has a problem with it. Tyrone, Ukraine has martial law, so no elections are allowed. This is because of the war. Celeste is saying peace won't happen until Biden administration is gone. No one respects them. Yuk-Fotu is saying, don't get me wrong, Putin is a good human, but he isn't the villain in this situation. Exactly. And I think this is why Remember, Tucker Carlson wanted to interview him, and they said, no, you cannot interview him in the States. So Tucker Carlson had to go to Russia to get an interview or interview Putin. You have to wonder, why does the government, even though Putin is, like you said, he's not a good man, but why does the government want a journalist not to interview him? Journalism supposed to be bipartisan, right? Shouldn't lead you to one end or another. We just seek the truth. That isn't that like the code of journalism? You want to seek the truth. And they did not want Tucker Carlson to interview him. And he ended up going to Russia and sat down and talked to him for about 3 hours. And it's interesting that a lot of stuff, he actually explained in detail why he thought he was in the right in this situation. Like you explained, NATO is encroaching towards them, and they feel like they're threatened, which they should feel. I mean, any normal country would say, oh no, they're pushing towards us. They're advancing on me. So yes, we're going to have to defend ourselves. Gary Williams, you are correct, Chawanne. Women are not respected generally internationally as they are in the U.S. Exactly. And we're very privileged. That's why I'm proud to be an American, because I can't just imagine going to another country. And in some countries, they're similar to the U.S., probably in Europe or somewhere like that. But most other countries that's not, I guess, Western society or Western doctrinated, they don't have our same views and values and, freedoms like the U.S. Anyway, YouTube. But why do this now? Because you want to derail Donald Trump's leadership, his changeover. He wants to make it more difficult for him. And why the hell not? They probably wanted to do this for the longest. Why the hell not? Let me get to some DC. You crazy? Celeste is saying they're playing dirty to make sure Dems win. Yuck Photube, $1 billion in 100 days. It seems like money laundering. Yes. Yuck Photube, 10 million is just ridiculous. Yeah, he was a war hero. Anyway, so that's that. So that's happening in Ukraine. The election, they're trying to get more votes. So I guess Kamala Harris won't look as bad. They're really trying to overthrow Donald Trump's his presidency, try to make it way harder for him to, the change over for him. And like I said, I don't think it's going to work. So anyway, I do want to talk about MSNBC. MSNBC, what's her name? Mika for the morning show. Let me just go to Carbone. Mika from the morning show and Joe from the morning show, morning coffee or whatever it's called. They made an announcement. They went over to visit Donald Trump. They went over to visit Donald Trump over the weekend. And they made a statement. They said, oh, we want to go over there. We don't agree with Donald Trump, but we do want to have a conversation with Donald Trump. Okay. So it was basically they went over to kiss his ass, because I essentially think they're panicking. Okay. They're like, okay. And their ratings are tanked. To survive, you gotta, If you're talking about politics, you can't just negatively talk about politics. If you want to have, and why not have an open line of communication to the president of the United States? So maybe he'll call on, like he does Fox on the morning, call on today's show, and they can have an open dialogue with Donald Trump. He's the president, or the president-elect. Okay, so this is Carly Boone. She's on X. She said, "Morning Mika and her side piece went to Mar-a-Lago and kissed the ring," and she put a laughy emoji behind it. And this is what they have to say. I think it's so hypocritical of them, really. But here you go.
Over the past week, Joe and I have heard from so many people, from political leaders to regular citizens, deeply dismayed by several of President-elect Trump's cabinet selections, and they are scared. Last Thursday, we expressed our own concerns on this broadcast and even said we would appreciate the opportunity to speak with the president-elect himself. On Friday, we were given the opportunity to do just that. Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump. It was the first time we have seen him in 7 years.
Do you understand how, like I said, hypocritical? I use the word hypocritical, but it's almost delusional what they're saying. They're saying that they're deeply concerned about Donald Trump's picks, but they were not deeply concerned about this DI president that we have in office, about his picks. The person for health is a man, but he's placating as a woman. What's the Levine? No, not Levine. What's Levine? You know who I'm General. Is it the Surgeon General that looks crazy? You know who I'm talking about, but I think her name is Levine, or is supposed to be a woman, but they picked her, and it's a man actually. She just switched over. But anyway, and then you had a whole transgender girl that was picked, and it was a man. He has a bald head and walking around with red lipstick. And then he was a kleptomaniac. Then you got the guy that was over the transportation, Buttigieg. He's talking about the roads as racist, which is really wild to me. And all your picks, every single last pick, was because off of their sexual orientation or their identity. You didn't pick nobody based off of their experiences and merit. You picked them based off of the identity. Corinne Jean-Pierre, whole Raggedy Ann, he picked her because she was a lesbian. He just wanted to say, oh, look at my diverse cabinet. And then you have a whole cabinet full of Jewish members. Literally. All his cabinet are Jewish people. They're Jewish or gay or transgender. Does that make any sense, you guys? And you're concerned about Donald Trump?
Now, we talked about a lot of issues, including abortion, mass deportation, threats of political retribution against political opponents, and media outlets. We talked about that a good bit. And it's going to come as no surprise to anybody who watches this show, has watched it over the past year or over the past decade, that we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of issues, and we told him so.
What we did agree on was to restart communications. My father often spoke with world leaders with whom he and the United States profoundly disagreed. That's a task shared by reporters and commentators alike. We had not spoken to President Trump since March of 2020, other than a personal call Joe made to Trump on the morning after the attempt on his life in Butler, Pennsylvania. In this meeting, President Trump was cheerful, he was upbeat, he seemed interested in finding common ground with Democrats on some of the most divisive issues. And for those asking why we would go speak to the president-elect during such fraught times, especially between us, I guess I would ask back, why wouldn't we? 5 years of political warfare has deeply divided Washington and the country. We have been as clear as we know how in expressing our deep concerns about President Trump's actions and words in the coarsening of public debate. But for nearly 80 million Americans, election denialism, public trials, and January 6th were not as important as the issues that moved them to send Donald Trump back to the White House with their vote. Joe and I realize it's time to do something different. And that starts with not only talking about Donald Trump, but also talking with him.
Yeah, because you want to keep a job, lady. You want to keep a job. That's why. Because
Over the past week, Joe and I...
your ratings are crap and you want to keep a job. You should, and this is what you should have been doing all along. Keep your opinion out of the politics and just report and let people decide. But mainstream media has been taken over or overwhelmed by Democrats, and so they spew their own propaganda and their own talking points. And most of it is not common sense. That's why Donald Trump is in office, because we tired of the bullshit. You didn't hear a peep out of Joe Biden's cabinet picks. This is some of the people that he picked. What the F is this? None of these people are normal. They're not even normal people. Remember this lady, got the purple hair. What is this? She's like one of the up there, I forget whatever she is. Then you got Kamala Harris. She loves to be around trans people. Remember, they had the trans people at the White House. And then you got this guy's that's with this dominatrix doggy thing. Remember him? He goes around stealing people's stuff. He's a physicist or something like that. But out of your mind. This is supposed to be the guy over the health, but he's a girl. Not healthy at all because you're taking hormones just to have boobs. I forgot who this guy was, but this is sick. Nobody heard anything. You got Pete Buttigieg acting like he got breasts and breastfeeding his baby that he had through a surrogacy. You don't have titties, so why are you acting like you're breastfeeding? You don't have titties. Why are you acting like that? This is Levine. I think her name is Levine, right? Before he switched over. Before he started taking hormones. Just, no, and you were worried about Donald Trump's cabinet picks? To me, it's baffling. Why are you worried about Donald Trump's cabinet picks and you picking nut jobs? Anyway, I think it's totally odd. There's another clip I want to show you. This is now they're tripping out of Donald Trump's cabinet's pick. Let me share this tab with you. And they're, of course, they have some concerns. Reason why they have their concerns because Matt Gaetz, a lot of people don't agree with Matt Gaetz because he goes against the grain. But if he's going to be the attorney general, he's definitely going to drain the swamp because he is really about, hey, if you didn't do what you said you didn't do, or if you're going against the Constitution, or you're using your your power to get some type of political gain, he's gonna take him out. So that's why they're really nervous about Matt Gaetz. They tried to downplay Tulsi. Tulsi, she's supposed to be over the national security, defense. They've tried to downplay her, and she's been in the military. She's been serving in the military for years. Don't know why they're trying to do that. They try to downplay Pete Hegseth, because he's actually a commentator on Fox News, but he has 25 years of military experience. So all of the picks, normal people, okay, and they have the record to prove that they could do the job. Normal people, but they're telling the American people, oh, Fox News commentator, ha 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 ha. But you didn't do your research on these people. So you're spreading lies and propaganda again. And then now you want to go and see Donald Trump so your ratings could go up.
Face to face with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago on Friday. They said it was their first meeting with him in 7 years, and that while they disagree with him on a variety of topics, they agreed to reopen lines of communication, saying they don't want to just talk about Donald Trump, they want to start talking to him again. We'll send it back to you.
If that came, we're just hearing that too, Bill. That is probably the most magnanimous thing any individual in America has done in a long time.
They called him every name under the sun.
For 3 years, they call him fascist, Hitler.
Yep.
Every day, at every panel, there was nobody even to say, ever since Harold Ford left that building, there was not one person saying anything nice about Trump. And for him to take that, what is it, breakfast?
It just shows you, though, that he does want to smooth things over. Maybe he is going to unite our country. And like you said earlier, everyone's doing the dances out on the...
Right. Hey, Bill, when Rachel Maddow shows up at Mar-a-Lago, can we make that a Fox News alert?
Well, if we can get a camera down there, we'll show it to you guys live.
All right.
Yeah, Trump he's not with the mess, and he is trying to unite the country. When he gave his first inauguration speech in 2017, it was a speech of unison, of bringing the country together instead of dividing us, bringing America together, bringing back jobs, bringing back the power to the people. But no, nobody highlighted that speech that he said. They only highlighted, and they didn't even highlight, they made up stories. Oh, Trump is this racist guy. He's it's white supremacy. He's all these negative things. Of course they did that. So we could believe that Trump is the bad guy. And he's not that. And I believe he's trying to make sure that the country unites. And so, he won't have to be fighting the media all the time. Of course, there's going to be some things that you don't like with Donald Trump. You're not going to agree to every single thing that he does. But overall, I believe he's going to lead us to a more prosperous and strong nation without wars. That's the main thing, without wars. You can't be a strong nation and we're fighting other people on the outside. I mean, we got to unite if we can't keep on doing this. So I think that's what Donald Trump's main goal is for the media. Now, his main goal is to mass deportation, and people don't like it. Mass deportation, but that's why we elected him, because we want a mass deportation. Bring back manufacturing jobs. Dismantle the education system. And, it's funny because liberals are saying, oh, what about, look at his cabinet. You don't see no representation. We didn't elect him for that. We don't care about representation. We care about, are you going to do the job? We hired him for mass deportation, bringing down the economy, the inflation, manufacturing jobs, drill baby drill, increase jobs, and bring U.S. back to a great nation when it was about 40, 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago. Okay. And we could say 70 years ago. So I mean, over time, we've given power to other nations and other countries. China, now Ukraine. I guess Ukraine got some type of manufacturing that they manufacture some type of bullets and stuff for us. Feedstock. We get feedstock from them, seeds and stuff like that. We don't do that. And we're capable of those things, but we don't do that. And we sold a whole bunch of land to China. Or not land. I was listening to one video that John RFK produced, and he was talking about how one senator single-handedly took over the pork industry and sold it to China. Now, if you're producing bacon or pork, you have to be under the Smithfield organization, or the government won't allow you to produce it. And it's owned by China. And this is why they're scared of RFK. Because he's been doing years and years of research. And I heard a speech, he said he prayed for 20 years to be able to help the United States and usher it on its produce. As far as our health is deteriorating. And speaking of RFK, before I get to another cabinet pick, I just ran across this study. New study predicts 260 million obese Americans by 2050. 2050. 260 million. If we go by the growth rate, if we go on the growth rate by 2050, we'll probably have about 420 million people. That's about 60% of our population will be overweight. Obese. Trump nominates RFK as health secretary. Okay. So we know Trump is, he's very serious. And, this is why Trump and RFK joint effort, and RFK dropped out because he knew the only way that he probably will ever see inside an office, and I'm speaking of RFK, if he joined forces with Donald Trump. Okay, and it says a new study that looked into the U.S. obesity epidemic. You guys, this is an epidemic crisis. Predicted that 260 million Americans could be obese or overweight by 2050. It noted that the obesity among U.S. adults and older teens has doubled in the last 3 decades. Being overweight and obese are among the fastest growing risk factors for early death. Study co-author Dr. Mary Ng said the U.S. is at a crisis point. Additives that we put in our food, we don't get out and exercise on a daily basis. Everything is on the computer. So a lot of times we don't get out and exercise and get out and do what we, just a normal physical activity because our work is at home now. There's a lot of things that's in our food that's causing people to be morbidly obese, and kids to have diabetes. Like they literally test kids for diabetes at 5. They look at the parent. Are you diabetic? Or even if the parent is not diabetic, if they're overweight, they're testing your kid. They're testing their kid for high blood pressure and cholesterol. something that is not normal that your kids shouldn't even be going through. And it's saying potential solution said that while the demand for weight loss drug may increase, they are not a silver bullet, and call for more focus on prevention, starting with pregnancy and infant feeding practices, healthier school meals, and nutrition regulation. They feed our kids a lot of additives and food. The stuff that they feed our kids at school, it's not like we used to have it. It's a bunch of crap. I make my kids lunch daily. I mean, sometimes they say, "Oh, Mom, I got the school lunch," and I'm like, "Okay, if you like it," but they don't eat that all the time. Probably once every 3 weeks or once a month. And I know it's hard just to get, put a meal together. But like today, I made homemade soup. That's what my kids took to work, took to school. They took soup. And I gave them a half sandwich. I mean, it's not no snacks or, candy. I don't never put candy in a bag or anything like that. Only processed food that they really get is granola bars or something like popcorn if it comes in a bag. But that's about it. Anyway, and so RFK at HHS is saying RFK is to be the next Secretary, Department of Health and Services. And his main issues is about vaccines, because we know they're trying to lie to us. Vaccines attribute a lot to autism. Studies have shown that our kids are more, I think 1 out of 120 kids have some type of autism diagnosis or ADHD. Why is that? Because they put mercury in the vaccine. The mercury that they put in the vaccine is 200 times more than what a child should have. So that is attributing to a lot of our illnesses. Okay, so vaccines and fluoride. Now, fluoride, I think I didn't look into much in fluoride, but I remember a long time ago when I was researching fluoride, they said fluoride could cause sterility problems in males. So, not for sure. You guys put in the chat, let me know what you think about that. But yeah, Trump administration, he's hiring people to do the job. Another thing that they're really nervous about is Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. You have two people. Elon Musk is the richest man in the planet. And then you got Vivek Ramaswamy that's very wealthy, that's built companies up from ground up. We're talking about two people that are on top of their game. And reason why Elon Musk have became rich, because he knows how to trim the fat. Okay. So I you know what? Maybe I'll do this for tomorrow episode to see how many governmental departments that we don't know about and that doesn't even make any sense. Okay. So this is why they're nervous. The faucet is about to get shut off. And why are American citizens, we're the American citizens, but you have people so angry about this decision that Donald Trump is saying, hey, we're going to have a Department of, what is it? They call it DOGE. So the Department of Government Efficiency. So they're going in, they're trimming the fat, they're getting rid of all these departments. Of course, they got to get voted in. It has to take a vote on the House and the Senate. But they're getting rid of all these crazy departments that don't serve any purpose. And why are the American people mad about that? Because if we don't have to fund this operation that doesn't serve us any purpose, then in turn, that will lower our deficit and lower our taxes, right? Wouldn't you want that? Hey, less bill for me. Hey, I have more in my pocket. I could spend more. I could go on that family vacation. No, people don't want that. People, they want to have this slush fund. And these are the people that's probably not even benefit from any government contracts, but they want this slush fund like, oh, Donald Trump is wrong. He shouldn't do that. No, he absolutely should. He absolutely should get these two individuals to trim the fat so it could lower our taxes. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think. Okay, let me get to some of your comments. Lenny is saying Joe Biden just shot us into World War III. If you want to know the end of the story, open your Bibles to Revelation. American is Mystery Babylon in Revelation. It will be over in 1 hour. Amen. Q out of the DFW dies and drinks hurt my heart. I can't drink Gatorade or Powerade anymore. Yeah, that red 40 dye, you know that comes from a parasite. A parasite that they freeze up and crush it, and it turns into red. The yellow dye comes from petroleum. It's a byproduct of petroleum. And they put it in our food. But if you look at other countries, they don't have those type of ingredients. Everything is not natural. Instead of using red 40 or whatever, they use carrots or some other type of food, an actual food product to color the food if they want it red. Make it more appealing. So all the things that they put in our food is it's essentially killing us slowly. And this is why we have all these health problems, cancers that nobody's known about. People are dying from stomach cancer. I've seen so many people that had colon cancer, stomach cancer, pancreatic cancer. These are essentially pretty much rare forms of cancer. I don't know about colon cancer. I don't know how rare that is, but stomach cancer, pancreatic cancer, and what other kind of cancer? But anyway, these are essentially rare cancers, but we got all this stuff in our food and people are dying from it. Lenny Malley is said it's not additives, it's a poison. Exactly. Anger mismanagement. I lost 60 pounds going from a sit down forklift to a stand up. Yeah. And all the General Mills cereals, folks, stay away from that. Exactly. Because they have a lot of bioengineering products in General Mills. What do you think is in McDonald's pink slimy hamburgers, human DNA? Another thing, the fries that they put in the DNA, the chemicals that they add in the fries so they won't have to change their grease so much in McDonald's. They don't do that in other countries. They just do it here. Like the government literally has given the FDA a pass to really harm us. We should sue the government. Literally, if we really think about it, they owe us reparations, the government, because you're supposed to be the Food Drug Administration and you allowed this to happen because you're lobbyists or you're getting paid by somebody. Maybe you have stock in this particular company and you allowed them to kill millions of people. Just think about all the people that died of cancer or some type of cancer. This unexplainable. Yeah, they never drink, they never smoke. Oh, and now they got colon cancer and they was pretty much healthy. It's really crazy. The U.S. doesn't have regulations on food like a European, African, Asian nation does, killing ourselves within. I quit eating McDonald's. Deborah said, I quit eating McDonald's ages ago. We used to give our kids McDonald's, and then me and my husband was like, we need to stop doing that. We need to stop being lazy and cook. I mean, we would do it like once every Friday, but we haven't did it in years, and they don't even like McDonald's. They don't even like takeout. They do not like fast food or anything like that. One thing they would appreciate is a good burger, but it's not from McDonald's. We won't equate a good burger from McDonald's. It'd be like maybe J. Alexander or something like that. So yeah, I tend to stay away, even though they fries are so good. I stayed away from their fries. It's a lot of stuff that they put in their food and that we don't know, and so they can keep it could last on the shelf for a long time. Okay. And they won't have to change their grease out, anyway. Medical professionals get it wrong. Back in the 1920s, they put radioactive stuff in everything, toothpaste, paint, and etc. I quit fast food about 12 years ago. Quit ketchup 2 years ago. Hasn't been that bad, honestly. They're even poisoning the water with the fluoride. Wombat is saying the pics bother them because it's Trump. If it wasn't, they'll be happy. Exactly. A Q out of the DFW, biggest red meat eaters in the world are here. Cut that down, put more regulations on how meat is prepared and sell. Then we'll start to have a healthier country. Ukraine is actually a place where one of the 12 tribes of Judah rested at. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to get to our next story. I want to share this with you since I'm talking about Chicago. That's our next story that we're going to. They're having a massive recall, not necessarily Chicago, but there's a recall on carrots. So if you guys buy baby carrots or carrots, organic whole carrots, they are being recalled. Okay, it is saying it's a multi-state E. coli outbreak linked to a variety of carrots sold at popular grocery stores have left at least one person dead, more than a dozen hospitalized, or dozen more sick. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention warned over the weekend. It says, what do you look for? The carrots were recalled on November the 16th by California-based Grimace Foods. That's what the CDC is saying. And it's multiple size and brands. They're saying they're sold at Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, and Target. So if you shop there, those don't get rid of the cut carrots. It's the 365 carrots, Bunny Love, Cal Organic, Compliments, Full Circle, Good Gather, Greenwise, Grimway Farms, Market Size, Nature Promise, Organic, President's Choice, Rally, Simple Truth, Sprouts, Trader Joe's, Wegmans, Wholesome Pantry. And they're saying they were available for purchase in stores between August the 14th and October the 23rd. By that time, people probably done devoured it already. I don't know. So basically, if you're in any state, watch out for it. It looks like they had people sick from a lot of these states. I'm not going to go over the states. and they're talking about the symptoms. Okay. So if you had carrots and you purchased them a few weeks ago, you might want to just throw them away. I purchased my carrots between those times, but not in none of those stores. And I don't think it's none of those brands. But anyway. And that was that. Now, oh, one more thing before I get to Chicago. Trump's choice for the FCC chairman says agency will end its promotion of DEI. I don't know if you guys read this. He picked out the Federal Communication Commission, said this morning, and the person name is Brendan Carr, who currently serves as a senior Republican member of the FCC. Okay. And he's talking about getting rid of the DEI.
Beer giant Molson Coors announced this week that it is rolling back its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, becoming the latest in a string of high-profile companies, including Ford, Lowe's, and Harley-Davidson, to step away from so-called woke policies in recent months. Our panel is back with a look at what's behind the trend. So, Dan, what is behind this trend? How widespread is it?
It's fairly widespread. It wasn't just Coors Molson, but it's Harley-Davidson, Ford, Budweiser, we know that famous case, Lowe's, John Deere. They've all been stepping back from some of this, Paul. I think one of the primary reasons is they're afraid of litigation. This is 2024. Just last year, the Supreme Court decided in Fair Admissions versus Harvard that discrimination in college admissions was unconstitutional. In that decision, Justice Gorsuch said in a concurrence that this sort of discrimination is unconstitutional in all federally funded programs. A corporation is not a federally funded program, but these corporations can see which way the wind is blowing on litigation.
But Title VII of the Civil Rights Act does apply to employment at companies.
And it's supposed to remain neutral on race and gender issues. So the colleges, by and large, didn't care what their students thought about any of this. They were just going to go their own way until the litigation stopped them. Corporations are much more sensitive to what their workforces think about these things. And DEI has been a silent wedge that has been driven into the employees of a lot of these corporations. So I do think we're going to see some rethinking of all this.
Monet, I mean, diversity as itself, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, we want to hire people who have from diverse backgrounds because in our business, we want people who have diverse understandings of this great country, America, different experiences. But so when a company says we're going to repeal our DEI policies, what do they mean? How does it work practically?
Well, a lot of these companies, and again, as Dan mentioned, this is a wave that really took off in 2020 during the George Floyd protests, have put in policies that essentially are hard quotas. They're saying we need to have this number of African Americans, we need to have this number of lesbian and gay employees and things like that. And particularly at the executive level, they were creating standards that said that we're going to consider membership of these protected classes as a plus factor, essentially, something that's going to put
for hiring and promotion.
Hiring and promotion alike. And the incentives of the executives were tied to meeting these standards. So traditionally, if you're the CEO of a company, you are receiving your compensation and bonus based on your performance metrics, how you're driving the company towards profit. The DEI policies have expanded that to say, if you are hitting these performance metrics in terms of hiring and promoting minorities, that's also going to be something that's going to affect your compensation. And so these are very different from just a general commitment to diversity. It's creating hard metrics, and that's exactly what the Supreme Court has recently said is now in legal doubt, and they're going to face a legal liability if they don't amend these policies.
Kim, 2 or 3 years ago, I heard from a lot of people that CEOs were actually afraid of some of their younger woke workforces, right? We have to do this because these workers are demanding it. We don't hear that too much anymore. Is that because some of these young workers have changed, or the labor market has changed, or why no such or less pressure these days?
I think it's because it's been replaced by a bigger fear, Paul. So one of them is, as Dan mentioned, legal liability. But the other is what we have seen in the last few years is that why did all these companies do this in the first place? Yes, they were concerned about their workforce, but also immense pressure from outside progressive groups, people like the Human Rights Campaign. You can get a good score because you were worried that they would cause a target your company if not. But what these companies have found is these programs and policies themselves, especially when they affect their advertising or in terms of what they sell in their store, that the Americans, there can be a counter backlash. And we've seen that obviously happen with Budweiser. We saw it happen to Target. And I think it's provided for these companies a very vivid reminder that their first job needs to be shareholder maximization of financial value for those who are investing in this company, profitability, because that helps their workers overall. So I think that they have realized there are some risks of going down this road too that undermine their fundamental purpose for being in the market.
Yeah, there's also been, I think, in a lot of companies, a quiet resentment of being promoted or hired, not based on merit, but on characteristics that you can't really do anything about. So I think that's behind it as well.
I would say just imagine that you received a promotion and you know that the company that you work for has this performance base metric and I guess you would call it a DEI metric, and you happen to be, like me, a Black woman. Did I really get the promotion based off of my performance, or did I actually get it off of based off of what I look like? And then you always have your counterpart judging you whether or not you actually meet those performance obligations or you are here based off a metric. Now, Black women are not the receivers of DEI. Actually, it's really white women that really they have a big advantage in these spaces. DEI spaces are getting hired because they typically want to promote women. And if you happen to be a Black woman, that's fine. But if you're just a woman, that checks off a box. Hey, this is a male-dominated field. We did hire a woman. Okay, we checked the box. Do I agree that they did need to have DEI probably maybe 30 years ago? Yes. But right now, the way the world looks, nobody cares. Nobody cares the way you look. I don't care about your sexual orientation. Are you actually able to do the job that we asked for you to do? Are you coming in on time? Can you put an email together? If you're in sales, are you following up with your customers? How does your sales performance look? If you're an engineer, are you following those deadlines? Are you initiating a project and completing that project on time and on budget? Those are the things that I will be looking for if I were to promote or hire somebody that's not the way they look. Now, if you want me to say him, her, they, no, I can't get with that. And people are now starting to move back to the norm because of the Biden administration. They moved us towards, or they tried to force us to this left cliff. And people started to realize, okay, this is not what our country should look like. You know, they're trying to force us to be this way. Like I was saying before, you give them an inch, they take a mile. You can't force this thing on us, and it's not fair. It's not fair to companies, and it's not fair to the people, the consumers, the shareholders, or anything like that. And it's very detrimental to companies because they see, hey, like Ulta Beauty. Ulta Beauty had a whole days of girlhood where they're champion men. Men, they wear makeup. And we're tired of that shit. You couldn't hire, you talking about a podcast talking about being a girl, and you couldn't find a girl that's been a girl all their life. You found a man that with the beard and another man that was playing. I know I haven't talked about Dylan Mulvaney in a long time, but Dylan Mulvaney, he was faking. He was faking his transgenderism. And if I was a trans person, I would be mad as hell. You set transgenders back 50 years. I don't know how long transgenderism been around, but you set them back 50 years because of your foolishness. You know, Dylan Mulvaney, he's a guy now. So you just pulling, look, faking it till you make it so you can make some money. And you know he was an actor prior to that. So you got all this bone chisel surgery. I don't think he ever grew breasts, but you act like he was taking hormones, but you got your face chiseled because you made enough money. Probably somebody paid for it because they were like, oh, we want to support you. It's a bunch of BS. And you took away a lot of women's job because you were placating like you're a woman. And then Budweiser was like, oh, we got to support you. How come, you know, when they have these causes that they want to support, it starts with George Floyd, and this is how this came about because of George Floyd ended up getting killed. This is a black man. He was a straight black man. Oh, we want to support causes to support the community. Well, all the community is not gay and transgender. That's just probably 0.5% of the community. Or let's say 5% of the community is gay. How come it became this whole gay movement? Why can't it just be a movement? If it was a movement for black people, why wouldn't it be just a movement for black people? No, they had to put this transgenderism and they ruined it for everybody. Now DEI is gone because they pushed it to the brinks. You want to celebrate transgenderism. You want to celebrate my body, my choice. You want to celebrate I'm a fat person, you know, because remember that girl was like, oh, being comfortable in my skin. She got that Dove sponsorship, and she was touting that I want to feel comfortable in my skin in these spaces. And it's like you're being fat phobic if you say, yeah, you know, that's not healthy. Oh, you being fat phobic. No, it's just not healthy. You know, it's not like, okay, you're overweight or you're struggling with your weight. It's not being fat phobic just to recognize that 90% of the people that's obese is probably unhealthy. You know, I don't see a person that's overweight that's, you know, in the with a clean bill of health. Of course, it's going to have other comorbidity conditions that comes with it. So, you know, and so they celebrated all these things, and now people are turned off. Now, another thing with Trump's administration is saying, my bad. It is saying, let me just share this with you. It's saying that in his cabinet pick, this is wild, you know, they get to talk about Joe Biden's administration. And it's saying he wants to gain a deeper understanding of how rules and policy and programs may promote or inhibit advances in diversity and equity, inclusion, and accessibility. The goal will be reached by pursuing focused actions and investment to eliminate any barriers that perpetrate disadvantages or underserved individuals in and communities. Okay, this is Brendan Carr's tweet. So in addition, the FCC recognized that it is more effective when its workforce reflects the experiences, judgment, and inputs of individuals from many different backgrounds. The sections concluded, advancing equity is core to the agency's management and policy making process and will benefit all Americans. So Biden-Harris admin push more than 500 DEI actions across government report finds. Our 4 goals listed after promoting DEI were empowered consumers, enhance public safety and national security, advance America's global competitiveness, and foster operational excellence. But I think it did just the opposite. DEI does not foster excellence. It does not enhance securities. It's just a picture, a face to say, hey, look how diverse United States is. Look how diverse our administration is. Remember, Eric Adams was bragging. Now they're giving him a bunch of shit. Look how diverse my administration is. And then your whole administration had to quit because they're under investigation. I got one of the blackest administration and more female ever in New York City. You bragged about it, but now it's shooting you in the foot because you're not hiring based off of merit. You're hiring based off of how you feel. Oh, it looks good. No, we don't care. As long as you could get the job done. And quite frankly, I don't care if Donald Trump hire all men and all white, as long as they get the job done. If we say, hey, we want you to deport people, that's what we want you to do. If we say we want lower taxes, yeah, and curtail inflation, that's what we want you to do. I don't care who face is attached to it. If you know how to get the job done, you please get it done. So he's saying he announced this appointment. This is Donald Trump made his announcement on Sunday. Okay, so that's what they're trying to do now. And like he said, he's going to investigate whether or not is some advantages or, okay, how can we, if we're saying that we're not picking people that's for the job, okay, what are we doing wrong? We do want to get people in the job and talented people, but we don't want to discriminate it because they're black, but we definitely don't want to discriminate because they're a white person. We're stopping all that. So I guess he's trying to look to see what's the whole point of DEI and to gain a better understanding. And you can't get mad at that. The media is going to spin, well, they'll probably say, oh, he's getting rid of the programs and we're not going to ever have advancement of what do we call color people. We're not going to have advancement of color people. It doesn't make sense. But if you look at Trump's cabinet, it's pretty diverse. It's pretty diverse. He got the first woman, what is it? The first woman, what is it? The chair, chief of staff. Yeah, the first woman chief of staff. And he has a Samoan in there. And Tosi, she's a Samoan, so she's a woman too. And you got Vivek in there. So it's pretty diverse. People want to see all black people and all that crazy stuff. To me, it doesn't make any sense. To me, it doesn't make any difference as long as you're able to do the job. Anyway, so we're going to get to Mayor Brandon Johnson. He his citizens was mad as hell at him. They were furious about Brandon Johnson had the nerve to act like he was going to bring up this $300 or $300 million tax hike.
For a purpose and not for you to go touching it with $300 million that you want to siphon out of the citizens' pockets. Get rid of the illegals, and that'll take your money right back.
You're a criminal. Why do I got to address you? The feds need to address you. DOJ needs to address you, and hopefully Donald Trump will address you. Because you're going to protect the undocumented, while you're going to allow for the citizens in Chicago to suffer.
Y'all, come on. You leave that loser where he is. He's a loser. He's a loser.
Wow, look at that. Angry Chicago residents are furious. Mayor Brandon Johnson's proposed $300 million property tax hike are being used to cover the costs of the city's migrant crisis. Anthony Napolitano is a Chicago alderman and a former Chicago police officer, and he joins me now. Alderman, good morning to you. So the city council ultimately voted this plan down, and I'm sure spurred on by those angry residents that you just heard. But tell us more about that town hall meeting, and just from your perspective, what is it like to hear all of these angry residents, angry with the direction Chicago is going, speaking out and telling the mayor enough is enough?
Yeah, we see that on a day-to-day basis now in City Hall. There's people that show up constantly ready to show how they feel about the way government's being run in the city. You know, to answer that question, the best way is about 9 months ago, we tried to put a referendum just on this recent ballot asking Chicagoans if they want to remain a sanctuary city. And the administration, the mayor and his administration, did everything they could to keep that off the ballot because they did not want to know what we already knew, that residents of Chicago are fed up with the illegal immigrants in the city of Chicago. We told them that this spending was going to come back and bite them in the butt when they worked the next budget, and sure enough, it did. Now they were asking for well over $350 million just to cover the cost of that we put into those migrants. You know, we knew this was coming. They didn't want to believe us. And now it's great to see our residents come out and tell the mayor in person.
Yeah, so
how they feel
ultimately
about
what
it.
you just said is that the residents weren't able to vote on whether or not Chicago should proceed in being a sanctuary city. How did that go over with the residents when they learned that they weren't going to be able to vote on it?
They were furious. And this was a battle that went on for months. And they were showing up day after day to our committee meetings and our council meetings saying that they want this to be on the referendum so they can vote. We knew the numbers were going to be in the high 60s and high 70s of residents that do not want to be a sanctuary city anymore, do not want to be dumping tax dollars into these illegal immigrants. But the city and the administration, the mayor, did everything they can to keep it off the ballot. So they're furious. They have every right to be this angry right now.
So a lot of these residents were saying that this $300 million tax hike would be used to cover the cost of illegal immigrants in the city. Is that true? And also, would Chicago be in such a budget crisis if not for these migrants that need to be housed, sheltered, and fed in Chicago?
Yeah, it did take a big effect on our budget. There's a large deficit there. This deficit goes even beyond that. There's a misappropriation of funds over the last year towards pet projects. That's why we got city council to vote right away against this property tax increase. And we're telling the mayor to go back and trim the fat on some of these positions, that they have high-paying positions by bureaucrats in the city of Chicago to lower this tax burden. So, yeah, I mean, there's some major issues that go past the migrants. But there's ways to fix this without taxing our citizens. I told them from day one, I'm a no against the property tax hike. And we went from 14 other aldermen that felt that way to 50 when it came to the vote time.
All right, well, today is a somber day in Chicago because police officer Enrique Martinez will be laid to rest after he was shot and killed earlier this month during a traffic stop. And Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson originally said that he would attend the funeral. The family asked him not to attend, so he is agreeing to their wishes. He's not going to be there. But there's also this fact that Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling testified on Friday that since 2020, 330 officers have been shot, leaving 38 injured or killed. What is your reaction to the funeral of this beloved officer today and that fact that over 300 officers have been shot since 2020?
You know, we're going to put to rest a hero today, and it's a very sad day, and it's unfortunate that this is happening time after time in the city. I mean, the city's out of control when it comes to crime. We told our state's attorney years ago that they need to start putting criminals away and keeping them away, and they refused to do it. And this is the end result. You got guns on our streets at an alarming rate, and you got officers being shot at and shot at an alarming rate. It's hard to be a police officer in the city of Chicago. It's hard to be a first responder here because you're not backed by the administration a lot of the times. And that's why they were asked not to come to this funeral.
Yeah. And
yeah. They're not, I agree. You know, the administration, they don't, and specifically Brandon Johnson, they don't support the police. They're trying to get rid of that shot-gotter system or getter system to identify where the perpetrator is at or where the gunshot shooting took place. And they're saying they didn't feel that they were getting their money's worth out that system. Then you have a whole administration that demonized the police. Instead of demonizing the criminals, you're demonizing the police. So yeah, he was not invited. This is the second police officer family that said, no, we don't want you at our funeral because you don't support the police. You're going to come in and acting like you for us and you're totally against us. And this is horrific. 330 officers been shot since 2020. That's ridiculous. So Mayor Brandon Johnson, he shouldn't act like he's really concerned because he's really not. Now back to the citizens voting. The citizens voting to keep the city as a asylum seeker city. The alderman that was online that just spoke, he wasn't being truthful about that. If you go back to some of the recordings for the city of Chicago, the actual aldermans voted against that. They voted against it. They didn't want the city or the city residents to have a say in that. It had nothing to do with the mayor. Of course, the mayor is probably like, you know, he put his I guess, his input in. But the aldermen, they had the choice whether or not they want to put this on the ballot, and they did, and they voted down. So, you know, the city should be, or the residents should be pissed off about Brandon Johnson because he's not for the people. He's totally against the people. And he does a lot of stuff that lets you know he's really not for the residents of Chicago. And I guess they're starting to wake up, but I wish, you know, I wish they will realize in Chicago progressiveness. I mean, if anybody is running on that progressive ticket saying, oh, I'm a progressive Democrat, they should probably run away from that, because all progressive talks about is we want to defund the police, and we want an education system where they don't have any tests. We want to have an open border policy. We need to fund illegal immigrants. I mean, that's all. That's their main talking point. So why would you want to vote that in? It's really sad. So this next story, and this is my last story, you guys. This next story is about Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom, he spent $9.1 million on a mansion to relocate his family from California capital to one of the wealthiest areas in the U.S. Now, they said he's keeping his 6-bedroom, $3.7 million mansion in Fair Oaks in suburban Sacramento home, where he will stay with his spouse, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, some nights of the week. So you got a $3.7 million that you're not selling. And then you have this $9.1 million home in Kempfield in Marin County, where his eldest child from Montana has just enrolled in high school at the Branson School with tuition fees up to $60,000 a year. Gavin Newsom makes $224,000 a year. I'm just wondering where this money coming from. Where do you think this money is coming from? So he closed on this property on Thursday. And Newsom paid 7% more than the asking price for the mansion, and it sits on less than an acre. The 6-bedroom, 5.5 bathroom property, complete with the guest house for visitors to come, with floor-to-ceiling windows with views from Mount Tamalpais. I don't know how to say that, but hopefully I pronounced that right. Anyway, this is the house. Beautiful house, but you know, it's a $9.1 million house. So we could say, I don't know what type of other businesses Gavin Newsom has. You think he wouldn't have any business? And I don't know, maybe his wife have some money somewhere. But anyway, now this video I'm going to share with you is Gavin Newsom gets bombarded by protesters on Skid Row. So the other day he decided that he wants to, I guess he wanted to show up on Skid Row to talk to the homeless or act like he's there for the people.
Going on straight ahead on town if you want to witness what it's like for people living down here every day. You ever seen a Los Angeles sweep in action, Governor Newsom? You should go check it out. See how the police violate people every day while they're bankrupting the city. Why are you guys prioritizing shelter beds over housing?
You should have heard the press conference, just the opposite.
We weren't invited, believe it or not.
We weren't invited. It's about us. Now, for some reason, I knew you was going to come to Skid Row, but now you need to see afterwards. You see how dirty these streets is? The streets ain't being clean. There ain't no trash cans. See the red trash cans? The red trash cans belong to the business people. They don't belong to the city. The city didn't bring no one trash can. They got no one trash can.
Governor, do you speak Spanish well? I think you do, right? No? There's a woman back there that was talking about her kids getting taken while she's living in a tent. It's happening every day.
Always been a housing first framework.
Yeah, but what counts as housing?
Focus away from interim. We have a higher level of scrutiny. Interim housing that was reinforced. It's not safe. It's not working.
So interim housing isn't being prioritized with the new HAP funding?
The HAP money, the prioritization continues to be a framework, not housing. Services, shelter, solve sleep, housing, and supportive services.
I know, but like
homelessness.
Yeah.
Interim housing has a role. Rapid rehousing is important. I'm not opposed to shelters, but those are decisions for your local government.
Do you have a site or social, or are you doing this for yourself?
We're from Los Angeles Community Action Network.
Okay.
Just always wary when more money is coming for homelessness and housing, and not being able to concretely define what housing is, because we see, you know, Mayor Bass's so-called success on Inside Safe, where 1/3 of the people that have gone into these hotels have already been either exited or dead.
No, I get it.
And they're not going to permanent
this
housing.
This round has a whole bunch of accountability and transparency where they're going to have to list everything they're doing, and there's monthly reports that are now required.
Yeah, but I mean,
That's
the
all
definition of like what is housing. You know what I mean? I'm not saying people.
Well, you'll be able to
shouldn't go
see what they think it is, and then you can react to that.
And how much? It's $370 for LA.
Yeah.
For the county or for?
Well, it's $837 in this round, but yeah, around $370 for LA city and county.
Okay.
That's round 5. We got round 6 coming later. That's about $1 billion.
Don't want photo out. We want compassion, sir. From a positive perspective, though, if you really want to know the truth about the criminalization, you will stop right here. This is the Los Angeles Community Action Network. Right. Place you need to come and holler at us. This is where I work at. Where you work, right? This is where I work at, right? Why come they didn't invite us to the meeting? Then we'll let you know, man. They don't want to know the truth and what's going on. Right? We got mutual aid spots out here helping because we can't get nothing else. We got to do it for ourselves. You can see things from a direct perspective, how it is, right? Or you can see it from a criminalization perspective. But that ain't going to get it because that's been the problem. Chief Brighton came through here. And I was on cop watch, monitored him, and we sent him out of here. America's top cop couldn't do it. So if America's top cop can't do it, it ain't to be done.
Take care, man.
All right.
Good to spend time with you.
All right, thank you.
Nice day.
All right, you remember you walk with the general.
Hard to forget.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Well, I'm reminding you. Yeah.
You don't have to.
Since Gavin Newsom been in office, they said he has spent $24 billion. $24 billion on the homeless crisis. $24 billion of the state's homeless crisis. A recent audit shows no one knows where the money went. On top of that, the homelessness increased by 50%. Gavin Newsom might be the biggest scam artist of all time. They said since 2019, 25,000 people died of fentanyl. I'm not going to show this, but this is where they're trying to revive a person from a fentanyl overdose. So the housing crisis in California, it's a crime. It's a crime, and they're absolutely right. Gavin Newsom is a scam. And this goes back to how in the world are you able to afford a $9.1 million house on your type of salary? Now, the $1.7 million house, I think that might be affordable on a $224,000 salary. But 9.1, and then your kid is going to school to a private school, sounds like, and because the tuition is $60,000 a year. You can't afford that on your salary. So what does his spouse do? I mean, is he making money elsewhere? Newsom is saying Newsom knows the area well, previously owned a home in Kentfield that he purchased in 2011 for $2.2 million and sold 10 years later. And the area has become a property magnet for celebrities and venture capitalists, with the median price home in Marin in 1.76. He'll probably fit right in. President of Kentfield Homeowners Association said to the San Francisco Standard, "We've got a ton of people of that kind of stature. I would never divulge individuals, but you could probably put the math together." Newsom term is expected to end in January of 2027. Trump re-elected and no worries of Kamala Harris of 2028. Newsom will return his attention to the presidential run. Newsom, nobody wants you. Nobody wants you. I mean, as if we was to run or do an election today, you would not get elected. because you made a crap. California is a shithole. I don't know, not one person wants to move to California. They go there to visit because of the weather, but to move there, hell no. It's a bunch of superficial people that and a bunch of this crap. Homelessness. Let me hear this before we go off. They said Newsom addresses seek legal action against a conservative media.
You signed a bill this week prohibiting deepfakes of candidates in campaign season. Since you signed that bill, Elon Musk has reshared the video that drew your ire in the first place. There are deepfakes out there of you endorsing Donald Trump, saying you are an agent of the Chinese Communist Party. Do you intend to seek legal action, whether it's against Elon Musk or anyone else, as this law now gives you standing to do, to remove these things?
Well, look, I mean, we just signed the law. It's by no means novel. Like Alabama has a similar law. Florida has a similar law. Washington has a similar law. Ours goes a little further because it talks about election workers and what happens after the election. That's why I'm really proud of the work the legislature did in that respect. 60 days post-election, where we anticipate seeing deep fakes and manipulation as it relates to voting integrity. That is a profound distinction in our law. But I think Mr. Musk has missed the punchline. Parity is still alive and well in California. But deep fakes and manipulation of elections, that hurts democracy and the integrity of the system and trust. And we believe in truth and trust.
You don't believe in truth and trust. You're lying because they're still counting ballots and they're still counting ballots in some of the counties. And we saw that some of these counties did have a Republican lead. Now all of a sudden it's a Democrat lead. It's a bunch of bullshit.
And we think this law is sound and will be upheld in the courts.
So do you intend to seek legal action, whether on Elon Musk or any of the proliferating deepfakes of you?
The law asserts that many can seek injunction relief. And I just signed the law. I just signed 32 other bills on housing. And I haven't had a chance to review the specific lawsuit around a conservative blogger that seems offended by our law, but not the Alabama law or the Florida law.
Anyway, like I said, it's a bunch of BS what he's talking about. And so there you have it, folks. Newsom, he's going to his uppity neighborhood, moving from one uppity neighborhood to ultra uppity neighborhood, while his city or state is looking like this in some areas. Okay. Some areas is horrible. Okay. So there you have it, folks. Tomorrow we'll be online as scheduled at 1:30. So if you are online, just tune in for another episode of Business Talks. We'll probably be talking about whatever that's happening in the news. Also, if you did not catch my live stream this morning with my unpopular opinion, go over there to that channel, give it a subscribe to the channel. Matter of fact, let me just go over to the channel now so you guys can see what it looked like. But it's Chawanne Burns 2.0. All you new viewers out there, so subscribe to that channel, and also make sure you like and share this channel. Okay. So this morning we talked about the Mike Tyson fight, Sean Diddy Combs, and Megan Good. Okay. And we talked about some other stuff. So go check it out. And thank you for tuning in. I'm sending all my good to you. I will talk to you tomorrow.